computer. Ah, good. So we're there. Okay, guys, thank you. Welcome to the iPad forum today. We'll be talking about why register with ECSA, what ECSA does, what its functions are, and what the functions of the voluntary associations are. Now, engineering is a risky business, as you know, and it has a potential for adverse consequences, and therefore engineering must be carried out responsibly and ethically, must also be carried out using available resource efficiently and economically. It must safeguard health and safety for everybody concerned doing the work, as well as using the engineering, whatever engineering has provided. It must be done in an environmentally sound and sustainable way, and risks must be managed through the entire life cycle of the system. Therefore, engineering must be a regulated profession. The question, therefore, is, must we register or not register with ECSA? Obviously, it's an expensive thing to register, and therefore, a lot of people, if they don't have to register, do not register. However, a lot of us register just for the pride of the professional status and to prove that you are a professional. As a registered person, you are recognized as a professional in your field of competence, and the general public can trust you in your your ability to perform the engineering work. You're also more likely to be employed by companies and parastatals and government, as well as by private individuals. A lot of people have a prerequisite that you must be registered before they will employ you. If you can take responsibility for your own work, and therefore you can open your own consulting engineering business. Therefore, then you can sign off your own designs. When registered and when you have a consulting business, you must obviously have public liability insurance, and that you can also get when you are registered. Therefore, it is financially gainful to be registered. And lastly, it gives you the opportunity to use the reserved names, like to be able to call yourself a professional engineering technologist and write PR Tech Eng, or whatever cadre you're registered in behind your name. Now, the Constitution of South Africa, under Section 22, states that every citizen has the right to choose their trade, their occupation, or profession freely. The practice of a trade, occupation, or profession may be regulated by law. That is according to Constitution. The engineering profession, like the medical and other professions, are regulated by act of law, and it is done in the public interest. So the ECSA and the act is not there to protect the engineers. It's there to protect the people of South Africa. So an act was passed in 2000, in the year 2000. The act is known as the Engineering Profession Act, Act 46 of 2000. ECSA is the body enabled by this act to regulate the engineering profession. This is done by ECSA by use of the tool called registration. And the various categories of registered persons are determined by the Act, and it's listed by the Act. The recognized statutory associations or voluntary associations is also recognition of voluntary associations is also provided by the Act. Now, to be able to regulate the registered persons, ECSA has published a number of regulations. There's the regulations regarding continuing professional development and the renewal of registration. There's an overarching code of practice for the performance of engineering work. There's regulations for the identification of engineering work. That's a fairly new thing that's come out. Then there's guideline professional fees, scope of services and tariffs for fees for people registered in terms of the Engineering Profession Act. And there's a code of conduct for engineering professionals. So ECSA, therefore, is a statutory body. It is there by act of law. It ensures the functions of ECSA, in other words, it's to ensure academic standards at the various engineering tertiary education providers by accreditation of their engineering programs and courses. ECSA also liaises with government on engineering issues. It ensures continuing professional development of the registered people by validating courses provided by the voluntary societies and service providers. It ensures public interest, health and safety through registration of professional engineering practitioners by peer review. And it disciplines professionals who endangers public safety. So as you can see, ECSA is there to protect the engineering, to protect the people of South Africa, and is not there to protect the engineering profession. It is also internationally recognized, and it achieved international recognition of our educational qualifications for registered persons by signing international accords and agreements. These mutually recognize the substantial academic equivalence of engineering academic programs accredited by the various accord signatories. For the recognition of the BSc type programs, it is recognized via the Washington Accord. The BTech and BEng Tech type programs are recognized via the Sydney Accord, and the technician national diploma type programs via the Dublin Accord. Now, the function of the voluntary associations. Voluntary associations are engineering associations that are recognized by ECSA in terms of Section 25 of the Engineering Profession Act. First of all, the voluntary associations are associations where people decide, people of like interest decide to form an association. It's not covered by law, and it look after the professional interests of the various fields of engineering. It does mentoring of students and graduates and assist with professional registrations and accreditations at ECSA. In other words, they provide people on the ECSA groups for registration and accreditation. They also review the registration process at ECSA and do career guidance. They accredit continuous professional development courses and provide professional development courses by means of lectures, workshops, conferences, and webinars. And they share professional news through magazines, journals, and newsletters. They also liaise with various government departments, and they also recognize engineering achievement through awards and that type of thing. They do representation on various bodies to ensure that professional interests of their particular groups are protected. So basically, for this engineering fraternity in South Africa, the following things are in place. There are a number of established professional engineering associations representing the various engineering disciplines. The regulation of engineering profession in South Africa is in existence since 1969, In other words, there was predecessors to ECSA. It wasn't called ECSA. It's only been called ECSA since uh, 19, the year 2000, Engineering Council of South Africa. Before that, you had the South African Council for Professional Engineers, and you had boards of control for engineering technicians, engineering technologists, and certificated engineers. The engineering industry in South Africa is regarded as the powerhouse in Africa. Also, there's a high standard of education in engineering in South Africa, which is guarded by ECSA as well as the voluntary associations. And there's an international acceptance of South African engineering qualifications, and engineers, technicians, and technologists from South Africa can, by mutual agreement, work in the countries that are signatories to the various accords without having to register there from scratch again. So we looked at engineering risk today and why it's necessary to register. We looked at the function of ECSA, the function of voluntary associations, and what is in place in South Africa today. This presentation is based on the Engineering Profession Act of 2000 and also from information received from IPIT, the Institute of Professional Engineering Technologists. We are now open to any questions. I see Adrian has joined us. Adrian, do you still want to do the leadership thing today, or are you skipping it?
Hi, Johan and others. Sure. I'm involved with quite a lot of stuff, so I won't be able to do the talk.
No,
but
that's
I
fine.
was just so interested in this topic for today. And I had a particular question that I thought I needed to squeeze in. But yeah, not this time around, but hopefully next time around to do
Okay.
the talk, that is.
Thanks, Adrian. Chris, I see you have joined. Because we couldn't get hold of you in the beginning, we carried on without you. So in other words, everybody can now unmute themselves and ask questions regarding registration, as well as other matters regarding the talk of today. So please put up your hand or unmute yourself and fire away with your questions if you have.
I call this more to get and a crisis that I could.
Chris, your line is very poor. We couldn't hear you properly.
Oh, hear me now?
Not really.
Let me try to. Okay, I'll just get another interaction. Yeah, I'm better. Just be.
Please do, because we can't follow you. Any questions?
Johan, from my side, could I ask you something?
Please do.
You may have covered it in your talk. I didn't get the whole of it, but thank you for your efforts on this one. I know it's been a lot of corridor talk, and I'm quite curious to know if it's more than corridor talk. But is there going to come a point where registered persons, in particular in a management level, that would be a requirement to sign off designs and various things? Or is that not legislated yet? Because I know there's been talk around you have to prove your competence, and the registration process is a good way of doing it. But, you know, especially in the bigger corporates, is it going to come down to registered people signing off? Let's say you're a manager and you're not registered. Is it going to come a point where it has to be a registered person to sign off? Or are we not there at this stage?
Are you meaning in engineering work, or do you mean wider than engineering work?
In engineering work, let's say you're in a company of about 40 people and there's, say, 5 managers. is it expected of those managers to be registered to be able to sign off designs and all of that? Or is that not necessary at this stage? I don't know if I'm making sense.
Now you're making sense. You're making perfect sense. The identification of engineering work regulations have been published, and according to those regulations, everybody in engineering, including academics, are also now recognized as engineering professionals, must be registered with ECSA. So in other words, the same as the medical profession, you wouldn't be able to, you're not allowed to work in the medical profession or as a paramedic without being registered with the Health Professionals Council. So the same thing will apply for the engineering profession. The idea, as I understand it, is so that the public service and the municipalities, in other words, the local as well as the central government as well as professional government, can be professionalized. And you will not be allowed to sign off unless you're registered, and you will have to register within the next 3 years. Now, first of all, I don't know how ECSA is going to register all these people within the next 3 years. I think it's just not possible, because there are too many people out there. I don't think they know how many people are out there. But point is that they will. That is what it's provided for in the engineering, in the regulations for the identification of engineering work. And I saw on the SAICI website, there's an interesting clock ticking that you can, if you go on the SAICI website, saying how many days are left before that 3 years are over. And I happened to be on that website yesterday, and I said there was 1,000 days left. So I would not say that all managers would have to be registered if they're not qualified in engineering. But obviously, there must be registered engineering professionals in the big companies that will then have to sign off on drawings and designs, and I don't know what all else. I presume those things will still come out in the wash. Chris, you want to add?
Yes. Does my sound better now?
Yeah, now we can hear what you say.
Okay. All right. In the private sector, which I am working in, if we do a tender for government departments or parastatals, they are actually looking, the minimum requirement they actually look for is a professional technologist or professional engineer to sign off all the designs. And this has caused a problem with us in the private sector to say, we go to the municipality, the person that is behind there looks at our designs, and then they say it's not acceptable. They're working with a checklist. And I think this is why it has now been made a point that all people must be registered, because it doesn't help much to have forcing the private sector to have professional personnel on engineering to do designs, and the municipalities or the parastatals and the state and the government departments haven't got these people, and many times they have not got the qualifications, yet they're in those positions, and they are making decisions which is not engineering decisions. They're just working off checklists. So I think that
they don't even work off checklists. I see there's
yes, they work off with so-called their experience, which is sometimes we're not going to bring it up too much about it, but it can be a problem for us.
Yeah. I see there's two questions. Owen, you've got your hand up. Please unmute yourself. I see you're still muted.
I must have just one thing I want to say. I apologize because I battled to get through, and then I also had a crisis here at the office. I come to site today, so I can quickly sort that out. Thanks, Johan, for taking over.
No, fine. Okay, Owen, over to you.
Thank you very much, Johan, for the opportunity to raise my question. Firstly, let me thank you for inviting me to this webinar and for all the information that you provide on the iPad WhatsApp group. It's really appreciated. I am employed by the city of Johannesburg and as a traffic technician. And the question that I have today, or my concern is, can a traffic technician register under the category of public safety? And if so, what would one register as under this category?
Chris, can you take that one?
Okay.
Although I'm
Public
not sure
safety.
what you mean by traffic technician. What qualification do you hold, Owen?
Okay, so I've got a BTech degree in traffic safety, a BTech degree from the Tshwane University of Technology in traffic management.
In other words, you have a BTech in engineering.
No, sir.
Okay, no, then
Traffic management.
Oh,
Yeah, no, but you got a national diploma, am I right?
No, sir. I've got a BTech degree.
No, but what have you got before you got the BTech degree?
Well, I had my national diploma in my national diploma with the same university in traffic management.
Okay, so traffic management is not basically an engineering subject, if I remember right.
It's not an ECSA accredited
yes.
course.
Yeah, I don't think it is there. So you will have to, especially on traffic management, must probably go under management, as you said, the safety and management section there to register there.
Sorry, you say under the safety and management section and not under public safety?
I'm in public safety, yes.
Yes, no, this is what I thought, and this is why I was.
Yeah, because the management is just to determine the flow of the traffic, and when you do the timing of the lights and that, and you work the flow of traffic out. Is that that's my understanding of traffic management.
That's absolutely correct. That's what I do as a technician in the Johannesburg Roads Agency.
Yeah, and then you set the robots to make sure, and then we, the guys who actually have to sit in the lines because somebody reset it that is not correct, and that, am I right? Eh? And then you get somebody who decides that he wants to go first home early, so he goes there and he resets all the timers for himself to go home early, and everybody else has to suffer. Sometimes you have some hard times, am I correct?
No comment.
Don't worry, I know what is going on there. So it's not actually it's not a ECSA accredited engineering, that one there. So you will have to do it under that, what you said, the public safety.
So that is one of the categories that you can register with ECSA, is the public safety category.
That's it.
Correct.
I am not sure about that. I haven't gone into that section, but if you say it's there, then you can register under public safety then.
Absolutely.
Just query them there, definitely. You can actually send an email directly to them under the register at ecsa.co.za.
Yes, still waiting about a month now for a response.
Okay, then just ask Johan to send my email to you, and I will give you somebody's email that you can talk to, email that person directly, and they will sort it out within a week with you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Maynard.
That's a pleasure. Dr. Sina, I see you asking a question.
Actually, I'm not asking. I'm just adding. Johan's presentation was very good, excellent. And once you get registered, you will be responsible and also accountable for the work. Till you are not registered, you are responsible but not accountable.
That's correct, yes. Also, one thing you can't do is you can't get insurance if you're not registered for your public indemnity insurance.
Yeah.
So that is one thing that the people, and then also if you're not registered and you do a design for any project and it goes haywire, you can walk away and you've got no consequences against you. But if you're professionally registered, there are consequences. So you do it with due diligence. Okay. I see Rodney, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, no, thanks. I wanted to ask with regard to inspectors, let's say performance inspectors, that if someone is let's say auditing your work as an engineer, let's say from ECSA, and they are to come with an outcome of the quality of your work, will that person or the report that that person will have to compile, will it have to be signed by a professional registered engineer, or it can just be any engineer, like for that, in that matter?
What when you are submitting for registration, am I correct? Understand?
No, I'm talking about in terms of the the engineering regulations with regard to performance auditors. That the person who audits in engineering work, does that person need to be registered with ECSA as a professional engineer?
Okay, are you in government, if I understand?
No. Yeah, I'm currently in consulting, but I do have friends that are in government, let's say AGSA, Audit General.
Yes, not necessary, because that is an internal issue between themselves, because they perform, they're doing actually HR work, which they submit to the HR, am I correct? So then they see how you perform, and that person doesn't have to be registered.
But in terms of the person who's actually auditing the work, and they must they must make a finding about your work. Let's say, like, so you do the design, you monitor the construction, but then they are coming to actually audit that work in terms of like whether the quality of work is it up to standard, or does it meet engineering requirements?
Basically, what they're doing, and they're working off the checklist. Am I correct? Have you had that experience?
Yes, I've had the experience, but then what you do there is that you must apply your mind in terms of whether what was done is up to standard.
Yeah, they work with a checklist, and they work on a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 5. Am I correct? With a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So they actually basically, they don't need to be registered by the ECSA or any place there, because that's the internal internal processes that they use. But then it falls under your ISO processes to make sure that it is done correctly.
Oh, okay. No, thanks.
You see there, you understand what I'm saying is, because that is not, it's not actually engineering. They just come to see if your quality is done correctly according to the internal standards of every company. Does have a standard of quality control standards. So they just check to see if you're doing it correctly. So anybody in the company who understands the quality control systems can do that. But even in engineering, they come to see how you do your work. Is there any complaints? How's your character? They actually do character judgment, where engineering is not a character judgment. Engineering is engineering work that we judge.
But if they are actually looking at the technical content of your work, I would
then they must be registered. Yes,
I would say, you know, I would complain if people that look at my technical the technical content of my work are not registered, because I've got to be registered. So why? How can they look at the technical content of my work if they're not proven to be professionals? So I would definitely make an issue about it if I were you. Even take it to my what's the name, the
Director
union
General,
and complain about it. But I don't know what the rules and regulations are. The internal rules and regulations are. There might not be internal requirement. So So that is basically how I feel about it. Owen, you've still got your hand up. Could you please take it down? And then I think, Pino, you've got a question. You need to unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
That's it. Carry on.
Yes, I've got a question. I've registered as a candidate in 2019. Now I'm struggling to get a mentorship program because I want to be registered as professional, but I'm struggling even to get in the industry. What can I do in order for me to be registered as a professional? Since I don't have any job, I've been applying, I didn't get anything in the consulting company.
Okay. Can I come in there quickly, Johan?
Yeah, please.
Okay. I had a lady many years ago. She couldn't get a job. So what she did was she actually went to different municipalities and she worked in different departments to get her training. And seeing that you're a candidate and you're battling to get work, you can go to companies and say, listen, I want to actually work. I haven't got work, but I need experience. And you can ask them if you can spend some time with them there. And if they, basically that also helps to you in the sense that they see that you're actually willing to work. They will give you some work to do. And you can become later on employed by them permanently. I think that's the best way to do it because we are all battling nowadays, to get work, and work is difficult. And across the area that you would like to work with them for a while just to learn, to get the experience. And also, if you haven't got a mentor, what you do is you actually go about and you start working your program out, what you need to have to learn. And you look at the various requirements that are there in ECSA to become a professional technologist. What are the outcomes? And you go and you apply it to the companies and you say, I would like to work for a few months here, but you must be prepared to maybe work for a very small fee or no fee at all. And you can ask them also to apply by CETA for a small fee that they are training you. And many companies do that there. It won't be a big salary, but at least it'll be some money in to cover your costs, a bit of your living costs there too.
I'm not clear. Since you registered as a candidate, have you been working or in engineering, or what have you been doing?
I haven't been working with any engineering firm, but I do some job not related to civil engineering though. But I've been applying, even I volunteer, like I wanted to volunteer for free, but I still didn't get because of COVID also hit a lot of companies. So yeah, that's a big problem right there. I'm willing to volunteer though.
Okay, what you can do, I don't know whether you are on any of the iPad groups, but you can send me a WhatsApp and I can put you on our job portal where you can see the jobs that we advertise there on a virtually daily basis, not every day, but at least 2 or 3 times a week. And we can also put you on the registration advice group as well as the mentoring group, where hopefully you eventually get a mentor then to help you. That is what we can do from iPad side. We do that for free. We don't charge for that. We do it as a service to the profession. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I'll send you a WhatsApp.
Okay, Quinton, I think you were next.
Thanks, Johan. Probably similar sort of, well, not quite similar, also been a candidate registered for a long time, but in the construction field. And there's been a big drive, I suppose, to have us registered as well. Any sort of advice on how one can go about that, because it's not that we are very design orientated.
Chris, that's your food there.
Yeah, just I lost the signal. I'll come back now. Can I just quickly give me the gist what is required? I picked up about something about not being able to register, and I don't know what you asked previously because I cut.
My question is, I'm involved in the construction field, and obviously the drive is more and more for us to become registered. Also been a candidate with ECSA since probably 1997 or something crazy like that. How I mean, is it possible for us to become registered, and if so, what's the sort of best route to take?
Okay, it's quite easy actually, because this is the problem with a lot of the construction guys and even guys that have been working for consultants. They work outside in the field the whole time as REs and that. It's actually very easy because you don't need to work in a drawing office and a design office. If you for instance, a resident engineer, not resident, site agent, do you look at designs that are given to you, even as a contracts manager or a site engineer? You get designs given to you by the consultants. You look at the design, you pick up there's something wrong with it, and you redesign. Am I correct?
Yes, that's often happens, or you provide input into their design. Yeah.
And then there's also a section that you have to do is like a temporary design that you do for your, I don't know what type of construction do you do, which section?
Civil.
Yes, but what about civil? What are you doing? Trenches, laying pipes, or are you doing building or earthworks or something like that?
Sort of mining related infrastructure, which is anything from earthworks, reinforced concrete, surface and underground. Yeah.
Okay, so it's quite easy. Sometimes you have to do design supports. Am I correct?
Yes.
So that is also falls under designing for you. You design for supports. You look at different supports you're going to put in. You do your calculations. That falls all under designing. Temporary works that you're designing, that falls under designing. You don't have to do a big design like a reservoir or a structure. What you're doing temporary works. You're doing
Looks like we've lost Chris now.
You take into consideration your your frictional in your grain sand and that, and you look at your slip modes. So that is designing. Does that do you understand what I'm talking about now, Quentin?
Chris, we lost you for a moment there.
Yeah. I said, where did you lose me? Okay, when you're doing a deep excavations, you're designing for shoring. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So that falls under designing. It's very misleading sometimes, the guys that do construction and have never worked with consultants. They tend to think designing is you have to work for a consultant. But if you're a contractor, you're doing temporary designs. You're doing designs. You even do stormwater designs. If the levels do not work out, you redesign the stormwater network, even the sewage network, even a water network. You take in loads. When you put in a pipe, you got a certain loads that you put on top of the pipe. You make sure that it's correct. Am I right, Pierre?
Yeah.
I mean,
Quentin.
Quentin.
All sort of stuff we probably take for granted in our daily operation.
Yeah, but that is what designing means. What you do is, if you look at outcome 1, it tells you define. So that is a problem that you tell what it is. Investigate. That is the information that you're collecting. Eh? And then the last bit is basically, what do? Your assumptions that you take into consideration. section 2, outcome 2 is your design, your different options. You look at different designs and you come up with the best design. Why did you took that design? That's what it is. That's basically all. You don't have to have R1 million worth of, or 20 or 30 or 300 million rands worth of work to do a design. Your design can maybe be 50,000, but if it does all the outcomes that are required, that is acceptable to us as assessors.
However, you must be able to prove that you have done design. You didn't just put them in, the stuff that you, the shoring and stuff that you've put in, you didn't, you must be able to prove that you've done the design of it and not just put it in because you know, oh, that and that size stuff works. You know, you need to be able to when you ask, say how, what principles you used to design, what loads did you use, you know, what forces, and how did you decide on specific sizes for pipes or something like that. So you need to be able to have done a bit of design work.
Yeah, now we're losing again.
And you need to be able
to hear me?
If you've reviewed designs, you need to show how you reviewed it. You must don't just look at it and say, oh yeah, that looks good. You must be able to prove that you how you determined that it looks good and that it's sufficient. Okay, who's next? I think it was Nicholas.
Yes, can you hear me, sir? Hello, can you hear me? Okay, thanks for this opportunity, and thanks for the information that we have just presented to us from the iPad. And my question is basically related to the previous guys who were asking about the candidacy. I'm also a candidate, a technician candidate. I have registered in 2018 with the ECSA board as a candidate technician. So now my question to you is that my situation is a bit complex. I'm from another stream of which I think is more relating to what I'm doing in civil engineering now. Basically, let me just give you a bit background. I've started in college level, and then I got my diploma and a trade test in bricklaying. So I was basically doing building. So I qualified in 2008 as a builder, and I was working with construction in most of the time till I joined the department. So now my question is that how can I relate that previous experience of building construction with the design? Hello? Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can still hear you, Nicholas.
Yes, because now I've joined the department following my stream. Now I'm the chief of the artisans. Since I've explained to you that I'm an artisan, I do have a lot of experience in construction. So now I want to follow the design part of engineering fields. Hence, I'm still a little bit confused as to where am I actually going to fit myself, because within engineering fields alone, there is a lot of specialized fields. Like, for example, we are dealing with roads, other people they are dealing with structures, and other people they are still dealing with water infrastructure designs. So now I want to understand as to what is best for me. Where can I fit myself towards the registration of a professional engineer? I'm not so sure as to whether you did understand my question, or do I make any sense from what I've just alluded now?
Looks like we've lost Chris at the moment. Let's just see if we can get him back. Chris, are you there somewhere? Because Nicholas, I didn't hear very clearly what you said, what your qualifications were. I was hoping that Chris heard it and that he could answer. Now it looks like we've lost him.
Okay, sorry about that. Meanwhile, we're still waiting for Chris.
Let's just wait for him to, he will connect again.
Okay, sir.
And we see then what he says. There he is. Chris is back. Chris, could you hear what Nicholas was saying, and can you answer on that? You're muted at the moment. Chris, you're still muted. Babu, I have to mute you every time because you have a lot of background noise on your side. The connection is bad, Chris.
Yeah,
not really.
I tell you one. I know what's going on. To the one internet I'm going.
Chris, we can't hear you.
This is it. Can you hear me?
We're trying.
I'm not sure. Can you hear me now?
That's it. That's better. Fire
Hello?
That's better, Mr. Chris.
Oh. Okay, let's hear. Because what I could understand is there was a bricklayer and he did he's a technician now, as a candidate technician. Am I correct one?
Yes, you are correct, sir.
Okay. And then I lost you after that. What is the question that you wanted?
Oh, okay.
And as you said something. Okay, tell me quickly. All right.
Okay. My question to you is that how best can I fit myself in terms of the previous experience with the design part of this? I'm now a qualified. I'm qualified. What do you call it? Civil engineer, academically or theoretically. So I want to do the design part of it in terms of the practical grounds. But I do have the practical experience from the previous field, which is relating to what a civil engineering field is all about. So how best can I fit myself in terms of the previous experience to what I'm looking for now, being a professional engineer?
Okay, well, so you were previously a bricklayer up to about what? Up to when was that?
That was 2008. Say.
Okay, then you went to study. Yeah, then you went to study to get your national diploma. Am I correct?
That's correct, sir.
And when did you finish that?
The diploma, I finished it in 2016.
Okay, 2016. So you got 5 years experience working as a technician in civil engineering. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Where did you qualify? Which university?
UNISA.
Okay, that's fine. And you've done your practical, because you got your diploma.
Yes.
Okay, where are you working now?
Department of Public Works and Infrastructure.
Okay, so you're working in Department of Works infrastructure. Okay. But now you're battling to get your design correct for
Yes,
registration. Okay, now that's quite easy. Are you in a managerial position? What I mean by not in the top, but in middle management, and you look at designs and approved designs of consultants. Am I correct?
no, sir, you're not correct. I'm not doing that, sir.
Are you not doing that? Okay, now we. So, who's approving the designs? What do you do at the Department of Infrastructure?
I'm a chief of artisans. I'm basically doing the maintenance of all government structures, state properties. We are taking care of the maintenance part of it.
Okay. Now I want to ask you another question. You do buildings and you have to, sometimes there's structural failures. Am I correct?
That is
Can
correct,
you hear
sir.
me? Okay. What do you do about that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I say, if you get a structural failure, what do you do about that? You look at it and then you say, you get somebody else, or do you actually attempt to correct the design, or what is the cause of it, and redesign some, do remedial work in redesigning the repair? Or do you give it to somebody, another person in the department?
We normally do the repairs, but if it is beyond our capacity, then that's where we outsource it.
Okay. Okay, but if you get a major structural failure, how you go about that? You do the repair yourself?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you use engineering judgment in that? And how do you go about that?
Yes, we do the assessment based on the engineering failure.
Okay. Do you do the repair and design the repair, design the remedial design, or do you get somebody else to do it?
Like I said, sir, it depends on the volume or the scope of the failure. And if we do have the capacity, we do it internally. But if we don't have the capacity,
just listen now. Just listen nicely. I know you say if you have the capacity, but if there's a failure, do you look at the failure and do you do a design to do the repair or not? Or do you just apply somebody else to come and do it if it's very complex?
I look at the failure and I repair it.
Okay.
But if the failure is beyond our...
Okay. All right. So you don't actually do design then, as I understand. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What you can do, you can apply because you're working in a government department, and that you can ask them, please, can they put you in a department so that you can get some design experience? Because the management side, it looks like you've got that experience there because you're running a group of artisans that are under you. But you need to get some design experience too.
Yes, sir.
Does that answer your question, Nicholas?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So ask the guys above you to please give you some design experience, because that seems to be lacking, because the level of what you are doing, the repair work, you're not actually doing any design, you're working just on your experience. And even as to become a technician, to register, you must do have design experience. Although you have got bricklaying experience, that does help you. But when it comes to engineering, you have to calculate your forces. You must do engineering calculations to make a repair work if it's very complex. Just ask the guys there at your work that they can put you in a department where you can actually get some design experience. under engineering. Okay, Nicholas.
Okay, Mr. Christian.
Okay,
Thanks a lot.
I see Mr. Kibambu have had his hand up for a long time. Loic, please ask your question. Unmute yourself and now that's it. And ask your question.
Thank you so much, Johan, for the opportunity to speak. I'm not sure how many questions I am allowed to ask, but I've got 3. Would that be all right?
Yeah, you can ask any of them. That's fine. We're here to help.
Okay, thanks. Okay, the very first question is about the type of company I need to work for in order for me to register either as a professional technician, technologist, or engineer. I hold a national diploma in electrical engineering, and I did my internship within a company where we used to do HVAC control system. So basically, we used to work under a contractor that was appointed to a consultant, and I worked in the project department where I used to do I wouldn't call it design, but we used to make the front end of the building management system. And of course, I would do the commissioning of all the units that were probably on the roof or within the floors. And I was wondering, is that sufficient to register as a professional technician or technologist in the future? Like, that is the first question.
Okay, let's just answer that quickly. So did you do any design in the sense, or were you just following plans that were given to you in manufacturing? As I understand, that's what you were saying. Am I correct on the PLC? You're working on PLC systems, am I correct?
Yes, it is sort of a PLC, but basically I was given a project and saying that I need to do the programming of those units. I need to do the front end myself. So basically I had to think on those myself. And after that, when I'm done, I show him the results. It will tell me, okay, modify on that one and modify on this one. And then I go think again and I come back. Same goes for some drawings. So it would give me all the PLCs that I would need to use, but I had to do the drawings that will interconnect all of them with the sensors and the panels as well, or it will be also installed. So that's what I used to do.
Okay, so you get the PLC units and then you do the interconnections with it and you do the designing of that to get it to talk to each other. And then you go out into the field and you ensure that it does work.
Exactly, that's what I used to do.
With all electrical currents and certain voltages, am I correct?
Exactly.
All right, I'm not an electrical, I'm civil, but I've worked with the guys who do a lot of, pump stations and that, working with PLC.
Yes.
That falls under designing also.
Okay.
That falls also under engineering. There you apply your mind. You're working with certain standards that you were general standards, and you have to actually think above those standards. Am I correct? Although
Yes.
you've got your electrical standards that you have to work with, and certain standards that you're working with your electronics. You're working with those, but to get them to work, you have to think out of the box. Am I correct?
Yes, a lot. I used to think a lot.
So that is basically if you're working on a broadly defined engineering activity, it will fall under that because you're using the standards, but then you're also going out of the standards and you justify why you're going out of the standards. Am I correct?
Yes, I used to do that.
Because there are certain standards you have to work with, but your PLC doesn't. A PLC is like a woman with all hell raised on it. And I can know that. I've seen the guys that they actually start crying. Am I right?
Yes, sometimes, it's like a headache, of course. Yeah.
It's a headache, and then you think, hey, I should not have chosen this profession. Yes, but then you have to think out of the box.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes.
You have to think in your engineering understandings on electronics and also on light current, and you also work with heavy current.
Yes, it was exactly.
So you work with all the three fields.
Exactly.
Yes, you're working with low current, you're working with medium current and very high current.
At the same time, yes.
I know, because I had an accident on the one side with the PLC where the guy said he knows about it, and the electrical engineer pointed him. And the first thing he did, he actually made a voltage there. He was very lucky not to
Okay.
get electrocuted. And it was worse than a 10 kV, the flame.
Wow, that's too
So,
much. Wow,
so now you are already on that field there. So that answers your first question. What's your next one?
Thank you so much. The next one is regarding the new engineering qualification that I think I've seen ECSA published. And like the old routes would be like, after I've completed my ND, I would go for a BTEX, and then I would definitely qualify as a candidate technologist. But now the BTEC has been phased out, sorry. And then there is now that new BEng Tech degree, which is being offered. And I'm also currently studying.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. And I am also, yes, I'm also studying that's currently new BEng Tech degree, which leads to ability to register as a candidate technologist. But furthermore, when I read the new published ECSA documents, they said that you can go all the way to honors and then MEng, which at the end would result in someone registered as a candidate engineer, even though he has got a technological background. So I wanted to ask, like, for someone, for instance, who is working, how would he like transit from, let's say, a technician to technologist and to engineer if he has got experience? Will it require either the person to change companies over time, or what would be like the best route to follow? So
basically, all right. The time frames for your advanced diploma, your BEng Tech, is the same as your BTech. You can register there. What is it? 3 years experience with 1 year level of responsibility of E. But there you cannot go and register as a professional engineer. So, but you have to study further to become that.
Okay.
And it's actually put out nicely in ECSA, has actually put it out nicely in the new educational standards that is put out there right at the bottom on their website under documents, and you will get all the information there. It's a new thing there. If you've got a BTech and you want to go and study further, you cannot become a professional engineer at all. You have to actually go back and do, I think it's 4 or 5 subjects there to get that, and then you can go on further. And I know the University of Tshwane does give those courses. It's to do with advanced, what I think it is, right, some more advancement in mathematics, and then also to do a bit of chemical engineering and physics and that. But yet, when the years that you become a professional technologist and you got 4 or 5 years of experience above after your registration, even up to 10 years, you're basically on the same level as the BSc guys then, too, because of the experience. But it's for you to decide if you want to become a professional technologist or a professional engineer. It's your route to decide. But in the end, it does not change much, because if you look at the applications nowadays, they're looking for either BSc or BTech in 99% of the project areas there. But you do get some of the guys that actually want to have, BSc.
Chris, I just need to be.
But I think,
Chris.
Okay, that's fine. And then also, I think the electrical have got a different route than what we have at civil. So just check up on their website. I think electrical and mechanical have got a different route there, that you can become professional engineer with a BTech. If I'm talking under correction, please. But just check up on their website. Okay, your third question.
Okay, I think you have partially answered to my third question, because the third question was related to which one would be wiser, maybe to go all the way to a MEng degree to register as a professional engineer.